Good day, I am Dr. Rosella Asico Tenerife, a veterinarian from the Regulatory Division of Department of Agriculture Regional Field Office to discuss to you the primer on regulations and issuances on veterinary drugs and products. So before we go on po, introduce ko lang po yung aming office sa Regulatory Division and its function. First, we implement and enforce laws, rules, and regulation pertaining to plant and animal health, production, and propagation. And then our major role is to regulate feeds, veterinary drugs, vaccine, and other agricultural product as required by the law. So, ito po yung sa mga poultry supply, veterinary clinics, and veterinary agricultural supply na nagbebenta po ng feeds at the same time po yung veterinary drugs. Third po is on implementation of the Animal Welfare Act, and we also inspect, monitor the feed quality to protect animal health. So usually we do feed collection to the feed establishment, then yung sample po ay dinadala sa laboratory for analysis. Then we also inspect, accredit, and issue certification of plant material and seed production, monitor good animal husbandry practices and organic livestock and poultry, monitor, survey plant pests and diseases, and monitor, survey animal diseases. So, sample of this are ASF, FMD, and avian influenza. Then we also monitor good agricultural practices and organic cropping system. Then we have 16 VDAP po. So these are the Provincial Animal Feeds, Vet Drugs, and Biologics Control Officer assigned to the 6 provinces of the region. So on the list po, yan naman po. We can, pwede nyo pong i-coordinate sila when nagruruta po sila dun sa inyong area. So we go on now po with the discussion of veterinary drugs. So this refer to any substance, including biological product applied or administered to food producing, companion, aquatic, laboratory, and exotic animals. Whether for use niya po is therapeutic, prophylactic, or diagnostic. And other than food, these are intended to affect the structure or function of animal body. So yung veterinary drugs is commonly used po usually to prevent or to treat animal diseases. Then, on rational use of drugs, this involves their correct, proper, appropriate use so that their selection, dose, duration are according to the guideline, suitable for clinical needs at the lowest cost to the provider, community, and the patient, and are dispensed correctly and taken properly. So, when using drugs, so ito po yung mga dapat i-take into consideration. First is proper diagnosis. So when presented po na matamlay yung ating animal, we could consult a veterinarian para po ma-assess ng maayos po ang inyong alagang hayop. So the veterinarian could conduct further laboratory investigation para po ma-confirm kung ano po ba talaga yung sakit ng animal. Para po makapagreseta siya ng tamang gamot na ipapatake po sa animal. Then, a proper decision whether to treat or to use antimicrobial therapy is needed or not. And on proper selection of drug, so ito po yung mga dapat sundin. So, ang gamot po ba ay specific with the kind of sakit na tinitreat. And may iba pong gamot na pwedeng in combination para mas maging effective siya. And then, dapat tama po yung route ng pag-administer natin ng medicine, whether it is intramuscular, intravenous or subcutaneous. Or pwede pong oral ang route ng administration. Then, usually sa veterinarian, dapat yung nire-reseta niyang gamot is easily available on the market, cost-effective, then dapat effective, high efficacy. Next po is yung right dose. So, hindi po dapat underdose, hindi rin po dapat na overdose yung pagpapatake po natin ng gamot. Then, it should be on right duration. Antibiotics, usually po, minimum niyan is 5 to 7 days. And should not be withdrawn in less than 3 days to prevent resistance formation. So, ang iba pong experience, especially sa tao, like, niresetahan po tayo ng doktor, 3 days pa lang na we feel na umuokay na po tayo, ini-stop na natin. So, usually dapat po tapusin natin kung ano yung nireseta ng doktor. 7 days at the minimum. Then, it should be on right time schedule. I-follow po natin like every 6 hours siya or every 8 hours. Then, we go now po on the laws and regulation on veterinary drugs. So, ito po yung basis ng aming implementation. First is the RA 3720 as amended by EO 175, the Food, Drug, Devices, and Cosmetic Act. This ensures the safety, purity, and efficacy of drugs and devices being offered to the public. Then, next po is yung RA 1556 or the Livestock and Poultry Feed Act, which is an act to regulate and control the manufacture, importation, exportation, labeling, advertising, distribution, and sale of livestock and poultry feeds. And then, meron po tayong joint joint administrative order between the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Health as of September 25, 1991. May delineation of function po between the BAI, the Bureau of Animal Industry, and the Department of Health. That BAI shall take charge of the licensing of the establishment which engage in manufacture, distribution, and sale of veterinary drugs, and BAI shall take charge of the evaluation and registration of all veterinary biologicals and drugs intended for premixes, water-soluble supplements, and animal feeds. Then the RA 6675 or the Generic Acts of 1988. So this promote, require, and ensure the production of an adequate supply, distribution, use, and acceptance of drugs and devices identified by their generic names. So dapat po yung mga reseta ay through its generic name. Then RA 8203 or the Counterfeit Law. This is an act prohibiting counterfeit drugs, so yung mga fake drugs, providing penalties for violation. We also have the administrative order between DA and DOH, series of 1991 on registration of veterinary drug and product. This is an act to promulgate regulation for the preparation, sale, traffic in, shipment, and importation of viruses, sera, toxins, or analogous compound used for the treatment of domestic animals. Then also the DEAO 11 and DOHAO 105 series of 1991, which require labeling materials of veterinary drug and product. So, ito po example, wala naman po kaming pinopromote na product. So, it's just an example po kung how it should be labeled. Following po yung specification of veterinary drug and product proposed to appear on the label, the formulation, dosage form, strength, therapeutic indication, and manufacturer. So, usually indicate po yan sa box or sa medicine po mismo. So ito po yung usually dapat nakapaloob: generic name, the brand name, dosage form and strength, pharmacological category, and indicated po for veterinary use only, the formulation, indication, dosage and administration, contraindication, precaution, withdrawal period. Napaka-importante rin po yung storage condition, and kapag prescription, kailangan po ng reseta, prescription VDAP, may nakalagay pong RX. Then caution, BAI, registration number, lot or batch number, manufacturing date, expiry date, and the net weight. Then, yung DAAO number 25 series of 1991 on registration and licensing of veterinary drug and product, premixes and water soluble, and the corresponding manufacturer, importer, supplier, distributor, and retailer of said product. DAAO number 39 and DOHAO number 111B series of 1991. This pertains naman po on rules and regulation to implement prescribing requirement for the veterinary drug and product. So dapat po may ibang mga gamot na kailangan may reseta po ng veterinaryo bago po siya available sa bago po siya ibenta sa farmer or sa client. Then we go now po on AO number 138 series of 1990. So ito po yung aming basis kung sa pagpaparehistro naman ng mga poultry supply and agricultural supply. So the regulation for licensing and registration of veterinary drug and product establishment and outlet. So ito po yung example ng approved registration certificate na should be displayed on conspicuous places sa inyong poultry supply. So on registration, any person who desires to engage in manufacture, importation, sale, or distribution of veterinary drug and product feeds premixes should first be registered with the Bureau of Animal Industry, and no veterinary drug and product are exempted from registration, especially those offered for sale. Then may dalawa pong category, vet, drug, and product establishment. This refers to any organization or company involved in the manufacture, importation, repacking, labeling, advertising, and or distribution of veterinary drug and product. And the veterinary drug outlet refers to the drugstore, pharmacy, livestock and poultry supply, and other business establishment selling veterinary drug and product. And then we go na po with the requirement. So it's a general requirement. Dapat yung application form is notarized. Then we require photocopy of mayor's permit for the current year, photocopy of DTI clearance, yung community tax certificate or any valid government ID, 3 pieces, 1x1 ID picture, photocopy of PRC of the attending veterinarian, list of drugs being sold, and the memorandum of agreement of the attending veterinarian and the owner, documentary stamp of 3 pieces. So mapapansin nyo po, requirement na kapag meron po kayong veterinary drug and product outlet, there should be a veterinarian na mag-oversee sa operation po ng inyong store. So, other requirements po, location map, inspection and evaluation form. So, prior to registration, the feed control officer assigned at your area will visit your store and assess if you comply with the minimum requirements set by the BAI. Then, contract of lease of the space building occupied, photocopy of certificate of attendance to orientation seminar and consultation meeting regarding veterinary drug and product, So, ito pong seminar na to is a requirement para po ma-approve yung inyong registration. Then, at least, meron po kayong reference book. So, ito po yung list. Then, we could also give you a copy of yung mga RAs and other AOs as your guide or reference. So, this is an example of the form. So, very important that you write legibly, at least dapat po walang erasure sa mga information needed. So, such as po yung name of the company, address, where it is located, sino po yung veterinarian. Then, yun nga po, dapat notarize. So, as your guide po, meron naman checklist sa likod ng form. Then, on schedule of fees for VDAP establishment, usually po, ang initial application is valid for 1 year. Then, after that po, renewable siya every 2 years. For VDAP outlet, ang fee is 240 pesos per year. Renewal is 480. Then, for VDAP distributor, wholesaler, 24 for initial and 48 for 2 years. Then, 1 month prior po sa expiration ng inyong registration, pwede na po kayo mag-file ng renewal. Once na mag-overdue, meron po tayong surcharge na 50% on expired LTO. So, there is administrative sanction once na may mga violation po. First is temporary closure. Failure to comply with the standards and requirements for LTO as stated above. So, pwede pong recommend for temporary closure ang store once na walang registration. Then, suspension of license to operate. When there is a failure to product invoices and receipts together, failure to So, there is administrative sanction when there is violation. First, pwede pong temporary closure pag there is failure to comply with the standards and requirements for LTO as stated above. Second, suspension of license to operate. So, failure to product invoices and receipts together with lot number, expiry dates for the veterinary drug and product in stock. Failure to properly record and keep a file of all prescription filed in the last 2 years. Refusal to allow entry of BFAD or BAI inspectors. Then, also a ground for revocation of LTO, misrepresentation of any material fact in the application for LTO, and in any documentation used as basis for issuing the LTO. For distributor, distribution of fake, substandard, misbranded, adulterated, or unsafe veterinary drug and product. Violation of BFAD, BAI standards of quality, efficacy, purity, and safety of veterinary drug and product, and sale and distribution of therapeutic, antibiotic, and biological product without batch certification of BFAD or BAI. So, ito po yung mga na-encounter namin na violation when we conduct monitoring and inspection of veterinary drug. First po is sale of unregistered veterinary drug. So, ito po, very common and rampant yung pagbibenta ng mga unregistered veterinary drugs. So, usually po, pwedeng i-confiscate po yan and then i-recommend na maipasara ang yung store kapag nagbibenta po kayo ng mga ganyan. Then, sale of expired drugs. So, pakiusap naman po, kapag expired na, alisin na po sa estante kasi once na naibenta pa siya, pwede pang mag-cause ng harm sa ating mga alagang hayop. Then, we go now po on banned vet drugs for use in food-producing animals. So, these are the chloramphenicol, carbadox, olakindox, nitrofurands, and beta-agonist drugs. So, first is ban on the use of chloramphenicol. The use of food animals may lead to residue buildup in the animal tissue, which may lead to aplastic anemia and or resistance when ingested by humans, considering that it is valued as an antibiotic for life-threatening infections in humans. So, when bawal po siyang gamitin sa food-producing animals. Then, we have the DOH-DEAO number 1, series of 2000, banning olakindox and carbadox for food-producing animals. So, this is usually po ginagamit para sa growth promotant. But it has side effect as it will pwedeng maging cause ng genotoxicity and cancer in the long run. And hazard to person, ang withdrawal period niya is usually matagal po, 70 days. Then the DOH-DEAO number 2, series of 2000, banning naman yung nitrofurands in food-producing animals. This may also induce systems toxicity, carcinogenic and mutagenic, and may cause nervous system disorders such as tumors, convulsions, and peripheral neuritis. And yung last one is yung beta-agonist drug. Sample of this is the clenbuterol, salbutamol, and terbutaline. This affects lungs and heart function, and illicit use may lead to occupational-related illness or death. So usually, yung salbutamol ang ginagamit po sa baboy para magpanipis ng taba sa fatteners. But it has undesirable side effects to humans. Then, ito lang po yung some examples of our inspection and monitoring activities. So, usually po, we visit yung mga poultry supply. Then, we check po kung nagpa-follow po sila sa mga standards and mga regulations. So, on feeds and veterinary drugs. And then, we also visit yung mismo pong distributor ng mga veterinary drugs and biologic distributor. So, these are just example on how or a guide to storage of veterinary drugs. So, it should be clean, dry, and should be protected from changes in temperature, sunlight, moisture, dust, animal, and insect. So, ito po ay example. Wala lang po kami pinopromote na store. So, some of best practices. Ang iba po ay naka-store and at the same time naka-display ng organized and proper storage and handling of veterinary medication ensure drug effectiveness, and reduce potential for treatment error. Then, different medications require also different temperature. Usually, may mga antibiotics na heat sensitive. So, usually, naka-brown bottle po sila. And meron naman pong iba na should be stored between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade to maintain its potency. Various other products require storage in cool or below 50 degrees. Ang vaccines po usually refrigerated. Check product label for more information in storage. Then, on organizing storage, different classes of products, example antibiotic, vaccine, dewormer, or product for different species can be stored on separate shelves with labels. And then by keeping your storage areas organized, you reduce the potential error. And then for expired drugs, buy drugs in quantities that will be used within a reasonable amount of time. Then before buying, check the product expiry dates. Use product with older expiry dates first. Then check open container to ensure stoppers and caps have proper seal. Products with leaking seal should be used immediately or properly disposed. Always check the content of stored open containers before using. If there is any discoloration or cloudiness, it should be properly disposed. Clean and organize your storage unit and refrigerator regularly. Then dun sa expired drugs, there is also proper disposal of medication. Safe disposal of livestock medication is crucial. It ensures farm employees, family, untreated livestock, and environment are protected for accidental exposure to potentially hazardous chemicals. And some veterinarians and manufacturers will accept product return, take the product back to where you bought it. So, yan po yung example ng how we dispose the expired medication properly. So, yun lamang po. Maraming salamat.